Grand Rising Soul Family. Adam Jackson here with another episode of the Sacred Sons podcast. Sacred Sons, this work is for all men. This work is for our fam. We acknowledge the need to be of service in this work. And so some of the deepest rooted service in our culture, in our communities, comes in the form of the brothers and sisters who serve and who have served in the military. And so who is in service to our veterans? Who is looking out for our brothers and sisters when they come home? That's the question I'm proposing to you today. And so with that, I'm honored to announce that Sacred Sons is now partnering with a nonprofit called Stars and Scars, whose mission is to do just that. Where service and community meet to mend the scars of those who served. So with that, our guest today, my brother Ben Burns. Ben and I have been on a journey. We've been on a real journey, brother.
Salute. Yeah, salute.
Yeah, and you're one of the first veterans that came through that really illuminated what that life and what that pathway is really like. So I'm honored to have you here today as a guest. He's a devoted father of 2 boys. He's a 2-time United States Marine Corps combat veteran. He's a Sacred Sons community leader, and he is the founder of Stars and Scars. Please welcome Ben Burns.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for bringing us through, allowing the space to be held. Yeah, it's a big moment. This is what's needed to be heard. The call is out. So I answered.
Yeah, I just started off right here. What did call you to bring through Stars and Scars?
As a veteran myself, I experienced the lack of integration from military service to what we call civilian population. It's a huge struggle, speaking for myself, which I feel strong enough to say veterans can relate to. Once you EAS, once your contract is up, once your duty's fulfilled, to just be let go without any guidance, without any proper protocol to help you go back into the function of what we claim normal society.
Right.
So with my own personal journeys, I felt the need of how it impacted myself, my family, my friends, my community, the accountability I needed to bring through for it. There wasn't a space for it that I felt safe enough to be held, be witnessed, be seen. That's where Sacred Sons came into the role, and held that space beautifully. And as I've said in the past, there's a huge trust border there, a wall, we could say. Yeah. For those who have served in our military communities to be able to open up without some form of judgment, some form of standards you're held to, or, Hollywood did a really good job of creating a stereotype, with PTSD and loud noises, people drop to the deck. That's not necessarily always true, So yeah, I went through all this in silent struggles myself, and I was willing to learn how to move through it and work through it and trust and break free of those chains that held me back. And by doing that work, I knew that I had to be the one to bring this through for vets.
You're saying that you believe that there are a lot of men who can relate to this. And I also find that to be true in my experience of what I've heard and some of the processing and deeply cathartic work that veterans have done with Sacred Sons. So I know that to be true as well. And so just to bring it into a grounded reality, what are some of the statistics? What are some of the statements of this actual problem that Stars and Scars is looking to meet?
So one of the main focal points is suicide rates. Most people are aware of the numbers 22 a day. Those numbers are inaccurate. There's been a new study released in 2023 showing those numbers are actually closer to 44 a day.
Wow.
Which when you break it down, that's one veteran every 35 minutes. And that's undeniable. You know, it's sad for brothers and sisters who put their life on the line. They signed that contract. They knew the options that were coming, and then they get out and there's nowhere for them to go or to feel that they fit. Right. So it's the big push is, how do we lower these numbers? Because apparently what we're doing in our society is not working.
What is happening? What's it like, you know, as a two-time combat veteran? We'll go back earlier into your story, but what is it like to get out? What is it like to get out and not have that place to land? I don't want to project that, but what is that like?
Yeah. Well, I'll speak only from my experience, which, you know, this is the grounds of what it looks like. For myself, when I got out, it was get out, find housing, right? I was going to college. I took the opportunity of the GI Bill to be able to make something of myself afterwards. So it was get accepted in college and find housing. My first hit of civilization back into society was being refused, being rejected, rental property, because I didn't have rental history. And my fight for that was, how am I supposed to have rental history? I've been serving for the Marine Corps. That was my rental. And it was hard. I can laugh about it now, but at the time I remember getting very angry and feeling.
Yeah, because this was not just one time. This happened multiple.
No, oh yeah, and it was also a new thing for me to experience, like rental applications and paying to be able to be looked at. I come from a small town where if you were to rent, as long as you had a job, you shook hands, you paid your bills, it was good. Right. So when I went to a bigger city, and I experienced that, I was spending $100, $150 every application. So that was hitting me financially. And I had just got out, so there was no job, there was no kind of income coming in. It was trying to get on my feet. It was basically like getting thrown out of a bus while it's moving. It's like, all right, pick your feet up and go.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do I do that?
Yeah, it's like there's so much training going into it and preparation going into it, but on the outside, it's just like figure it out. And you feel like that's largely what's playing out with like I'm saying, these people who are putting their lives on the line and coming back and not being able to get an apartment.
Absolutely. And even to top that off, when I got back from my last deployment, base housing, I had base housing. I adopted my little brother, so I was considered a parent. And my house before leaving got released to the next military family because I was going to be deployed. And upon returning, they did not have a house for me to return to. This is while active duty. So I spent my own personal finances for the next month in hotels while being on active duty. So like there's a lot of these gray cracks, these gray areas, these cracks in the mold of it that over time weigh on you or weigh on myself. What I experienced was especially going to combat and putting your life on the line and then coming home and nothing's in order. Just housing, like your basic needs, housing, food. Yeah. It's not in order. It's a hard place to sit in. It was a hard place.
Yeah. And this is kind of like what you're speaking to is the physical, the practical pieces of it. And what we know is that there's the emotional, mental, and spiritual aspects of what it means to come back that are also not met. Mm-hmm. And I just feel like, man, there's so much energy and tax dollars that get put into the military, and it's really shameful that that this is broadly the case. And I want to say here, you know, when I think about veterans from my civilian standpoint, I always think of these gray hair with a VFW hat, who served and did their tours. And that's like this veteran image I kind of walked with for a long time. And until doing this working with Sacred Sons and seeing the faces, these are young men and women who are 4 years out of high school, 6, 8 years out of high school, coming back, returning as veterans, and having gone through whatever experience they had. You know, these are you know, like I'm saying, these are our brothers and sisters. It's not something that's far away.
Yeah, no, it's right here. It's right here in our own,
right here
on our own soil. You know, that's one piece I shared recently with as I'm reaching for fundraising and donors. A piece I share is, you know, we spent $67 billion in Ukraine, and they're also requesting another 38 billion on top of that. That's 106 billion dollars. That's 35% of the annual rate that the United States government puts into the VA administration, which that is a total number. Like, there's a total number there that gets broken down into thousands of subcategories. So why are we pushing all this money outside of our own country? I understand help and support, but we have brothers here who have fought and survived, and now they're here wanting to live and thrive. And they're contemplating taking their own life.
Yeah.
And some are doing it, and they're achieving it. And, you know, there's a lot of talk on it falling on mental illness and mental health, but that's not always the case. Sometimes they just don't have the help. They're reaching. These are brothers I fought with. They're trained to fight. They're trained to fight till the last breath. That's exactly what they're doing here. We're fighting until the last breath.
That's powerful. Tell me a little bit about that brotherhood. Tell me about your experience. How old were you when you first went in to the Marine Corps? And yeah, did you have a sense of brotherhood at that time?
Ooh, no. So before that goes deep. But I'll start it just at 20. I was 20, come from broken family, poverty lifestyle. I was trying to find my way. It was the economic downfall, 2007, 2008 time period.
Are you born and raised in Tennessee over there?
No, Lexington, North Carolina.
Okay.
I was born in Baltimore, Maryland, raised in Lexington, North Carolina. And so I have a accent, as you probably hear. it's a mingle. But yeah, no, I just graduated high school, which was a struggle. I had to work 2 jobs. I left my home at 15 just to be one of the first people in my family to make it through high school. That's a big deal. And I thought that was the ultimate goal. And I made it through. And then I got a job and I felt successful. I was like, okay, cool. But I was working factory work. I had no clue of the real world. All I ever knew was survival. Work, survive, work, survive. And then when the economy fell, I got laid off. And I didn't have college. So job scarcity was even harder. And I was living on my own. So that was when the moment hit me. I was walking in the mall and saw all these military recruiting offices side by side. And I, for some reason, chose the Marine Corps of all branches. I can't even tell you the exact reason, but I went in there and I knew that at that moment, this was going to be what I needed to save my life. Because other than that, my path to me, I was so blinded by what I thought I could do. So I chose, all right. I said to myself, all right, 5 years, that'll go by fast. Easy. I'll just do 5 years. That'll give me college. That was my perception. It's surviving.
Right.
That was the longest 5 years of my life.
I just want to stop right here because so much gets mentioned around the GI Bill, and to dangle the promise of education, of college, of an expense, of a debt, to dangle that as the motivation. You know, I see where it can be valuable, but I also see how that can be extremely disorienting. You know, to come out, to not have housing, and then to try to figure out this thing called college, like you're starting over, you know. So I want to continue on the trajectory, but I want to acknowledge that has been seen as a virtuous thing, I feel. And I'm not so sure that's entirely what it is.
Oh yeah, 100%. Now I dedicated, I literally took the oath to possibly not come back for college. So put that into perspective. Like
your life.
I was willing to risk life to get college, to make a better life. I reflect on it often. I think of like the growth of where I came from and what I went through to get it. And so when I did get out and I did go to college, I was 110% in that. I was honored, I graduated top of my class, scholarship recipient, put in the hours, put in the work, got a job with a high-end, heavy equipment company. I did diesel technology. And then I transferred from that to one of the top companies, Cummins, matter of fact, Cummins power generation program. But I'll reflect on that after, and I'm like, I didn't even need the college. That's how much college actually taught me, was like, I already knew it, because every skill and asset I got was from the Marine Corps. I already knew all this, but I had to get the papers. The papers is what makes it look good. And but reality, no, I didn't need that.
Yeah, and you're willing to put your life on the line. So you're 20 years old. The economy hits a downturn. You feel like this is your shot. And so what happens after that?
Ooh. So I go in. I prepared for boot camp. I went parasailing the hottest months. It was brutal. It is what I refer to as like a prisoner of war camp. I feel that wholly. They break you down physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. They are breaking you down to become the machine that you have to be in order to survive and fight in a combat scenario. Yeah. I carried a lot of resentment for that for a long time, until I really learned to understand I had to be that way. Like, that's what you have to be in order to live that way, to survive and come home. And not just for you, for that brother to your left, for that brother to your right.
Yes.
Those are more valuable. Those lives are more valuable. So I went through boot camp. I did all that, and I had a really wild enlistment. My contract was, or my orders were, to a detachment that didn't even exist. Every time I went to a different type of training, they would just be like, "Oh, never heard of it." Needs of the Marine Corps was the quote they would always say. "You're going to do it anyways, needs of the Marine Corps." And some of this training was brutal. It didn't make sense with my MOS that they said I was.
Were you also like excelling? Like you're telling me you're a great student. You were prepared mentally, physically. So were you excelling, and you were like,
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like after basic training, School of Infantry training, I became a leader of a small platoon in our education. I got gung ho awards, several awards for just being 110%, being in the physical shape, the top you could be, 300 PF yeah, I mean, I gave it my all, because that's
the kind of person you are, bro. That's your constitution. I've seen it.
Yeah. I can't short staff myself. It does no justice. I understand the value of life now. That's really what it boils down to. Yeah. It's not guaranteed.
Yeah. All right. So you're in, I said that you were a 2-time combat veteran.
Mm-hmm.
Were both of those
in
Afghanistan? Yeah. What is OEF, OIF?
Operation Enduring Freedom, Operation Iraqi Freedom, or OI. Yeah. And so it's like 2 campaigns, but they're combined. That's under the Barack Obama administration, Hearts and Minds. I went with Detachment Delta. We did the first unmanned aircraft and cargo flight mission in a combat zone, which was cool. Didn't know I was part of making history. my skill set was power generation for that detachment, which was really cool. It was creating a power grid for 40,000 people in the middle of the desert, civilian and military personnel, and being responsible for everything running. So that's a big load, to carry. But did that job fully. I had some really good brothers beside me, really good brothers. I'll never, I carried them with me, the ones that are here and the ones that are not.
Yeah.
Big stuff. But then after that mission was complete, I ended up getting with an infantry unit and doing some more in-depth work of that. So yeah, that was where the real traumas come from, That's why I found Sacred Sons.
Yeah. So we don't have to get all the way into it. But just for when you say like that's where all the traumas are, is it from the experience? Is it from the decision making? Is it from the choices?
It's from all. It's from all. It's from all of that. Because so I was put in a position working with allies where we would protect the parameters, protect the FOB, it was called. This is in the Himland province. And it would be 24-hour shifts of myself, and either a Jordanian ally for 12 hours and then an Afghani soldier for 12 hours. The problem during that time was Afghani military was infiltrated with Taliban, with the enemy of so. And so it was constant just watching your back and watching the front to protect all these people. And yeah, man, getting tested, being charged. Toyota came through one time. And their objective was to border the perimeter and explode IED. And then having to make calls, we have rules of engagement. You can't just go off the first thing you feel. So there's a very slow motion time that's happening during a situation like that. Yeah, you have to make life and death decisions for yourself and for everyone around you, including those coming at you, your enemies. Because think about that. Something that I carried that was painful, and it's still painful. I carry it and I work through it every day, is lives had to be taken, and those lives had families. Yeah. Those lives had brothers, sisters, mothers, and fathers. So bearing the responsibility, of taking a life to save another. Yeah. That's a hard place to live in. And I've learned not to get stuck in the space of punishment, self-punishment. Yeah. And learn to accept I did the best I could in the moment of that time with the knowledge I had. Right. And I do that every day in my life. So like self-regret, no, you can't live with that. That's that pain. That's that pain that has to come out. The resentment of the decisions that had to be made.
Yeah. And like you said, you're awarded. You were rewarded.
Oh, yeah.
You are a hero. Yeah. You are a
Yeah.
hero. I'm looking at a hero, Thank you for your service. Genuinely, from me to you, brother. Like, thank you. Mm-hmm. And that's become a trope in the culture. Mm-hmm. Because if we're really grateful for this service, if we're really grateful for what these brothers and sisters are willing to do, God, it's just like, it's of the highest importance to reintegrate these men and women back into society after that.
Yeah. Yeah. Have that type of experience, that type of trauma, because that's what it is. It's a trauma. Yeah. And then you come home and it's, I got to go to Starbucks and get a coffee. And then I go there and somebody's complaining because their coffee's not made right.
Shit.
Imagine that, bro. I actually had to hold a brother back one time for that exact situation over a salad. It was actually over a salad. A lady was really being belligerent about the salad. We had just got home and we had been eating like MREs and dust for 6-7 months. And I just I felt him instantly. I felt him tense up, and he was about to say something. I was like, no, because guess what? The piece they don't tell you is we're held at such a high standard. We're not allowed to react. We're not allowed to talk about it. We're not allowed to be real.
Yes.
Now we get to just look back and look at it and smile and say, oh, it's okay, because that's what we allow them to do. That's what we allow people to do in this country, is to be free, to have that that openness, or, you know, that ability to just say how they feel.
Right. and at the same time, what I'm hearing is that you yourself were not awarded that freedom. You were not. Oh, absolutely. You know, like not only were the minimum, the basic requirements for life not being met, but also the emotional needs, the safe space, as you put it, to speak. And so were you given any type of like service therapy or offered any of the traditional pathways that I imagine there are?
No. So interesting fact is the Marine Corps is the only branch that actually does not have a mental health program.
Shit.
Because their medical is the Navy. But in the Marine Corps, you go and seek medical attention, you know, you get the slandering, the blame, and the shame, and the insults of, like, I mean, there's vulgar words to use. I won't use them, but like, if you go, they call it sick call. You go to get checked, you get sick call. You come back to your unit, this camaraderie, this brotherhood, they're bashing you, they're hazing you. You know, they're going to be attacking you because you're not strong. That's not strong in the eyes of the Marine Corps. Strong is pushing through your injuries. Strong is not asking for help. That's the toxicity on the other end of it, that when you come out, you still have that mentality of like, I can't ask for help. I got to be hurt and I got to live with it. That's not true, though. The integration of leaving that space into civilian society, that's where that needs to change. That's where that work needs to be done. You were trained to be this machine, and that's okay. You had to be. Now I'm going to train you to be love and to share your feelings, to be vulnerable, to come back into this on our own soil with our families, our communities, and be the best, utmost person you can be for yourself and for everyone else. There has to be the space in between going in, having the experience, and coming out, the space to reintegrate, to allow all those emotions, the traumaticness or the traumatic experiences to be discussed, to be talked about, to be so that you can be held, you can be witnessed, you can be seen, and you are not judged. And there's nothing, and there should be no voice in your head saying, if I say this, I can be punished for it. Right? Because some of the things that happen is dark.
Absolutely. And you've even expressed to me there's like the culture in VFW halls is more about exchanging war stories. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a different type of integration that we're talking about here. There's a deeper, like you said, impact of the trauma that is wanting to be expressed. And I just want to say here, that might be a big leap for a lot of brothers and sisters listening. Veterans, even for civilians dealing with their trauma. It's a big leap to go from I'm suppressing this and I've learned how to suppress this to keep myself safe to I'm gonna reveal this, to a group of strangers or to a group of veterans. So like, what was that gap like for you? And I even know when you came into Sacred Sons, it wasn't like a one and done. It wasn't like you came in and all of a sudden everything's on the table. There was a process for you. So what was that? How was that like to close the gap?
It was challenging. It was very hard. My first experience with Sacred Sons was in South Carolina. It was the first time y'all came to the East Coast, which I knew. I've been listening to you for a while. I say this to you all the time. Your voice is, really what started my healing journey. And I think a lot of people should hear it. But on that note, I went to South Carolina, Avalon, and that's where I had no idea, showed up alone, had no clue what to expect, right? I was like, I know I need help. I know I need to change. I need healing. I need something to help me because I am struggling alone in silence. And so in order for me to get the healing, just the way I work is I have to find it. I'm searching for it. And I had tried, typical conventional therapies, VA hospital, their protocols, and it's just, there's no humanness to it. It's checking the boxes. It's statistics. It's, let me give you whatever prescription we can. That's a whole nother story. But yeah, I showed up in South Carolina and I was like, wow, these brothers are hugging each other. They're saying they love each other. And they ain't even never met each other, but it was also reminding me of the camaraderie with that, the positive side of the camaraderie within the military, where I was like, oh, that bond of just a bunch of men together with a purpose.
Yeah, and I want to be clear here. It's not that the military invented it or your football team invented it. It's that it exists in the DNA. It is deep in the bones of who we are as men, to come together, to bind, to bond, to connect, to belong. This is who we are. And so the military knows it. Your local street gangs know it. Your sports teams, your government, your politicians know it. That they can rally that energy inside of you for whatever purpose really they want to. But it's at the core of who we are as humans, to connect with each other and to circle up. And so with Sacred Sons in our work, we're circling up in the name of love, just like you're saying. And I also imagine, with the depth of the work that we're doing and the willingness to accept each other for who we are, what we've done, where we are. Yeah, I also imagine that must be like I got some reservations.
Yes. I remember in South Carolina, I was standing back like the whole time almost, just kind of observing, watching. Just my training was kicking in of, I need to protect myself, even though I came to this space to open up, but I couldn't get past the trust factor. That was something that it was drilled in me from the start, So, I felt when I left that one, I didn't fully commit. And that piece. Say
more about the trust. What does that mean to you, the trust factor? And what was it that was drilled into you?
Oh, so well, that can go back far, but just speaking military, you're trained not to trust. You're trained to hold information. You're trained to be just your own self-power. If I was to be captured, overseas in a combat situation, name, rank, social security number, that's what I give you. No matter what you do to me, that's all I give you. That's what I'm trained to do.
Yeah.
So then I'm here and it's like, hey, we want you to tell us how you feel. Instinct is, well, my name is Ben. My rank is like that's instinct. It's just instinct.
Yeah.
It's just what it became instinct. It's not my instinct. It became instinct. It's what was forcefully taught through a lot of different techniques.
And I would say that's true for men in general. It's a big generalization to say, but a lot of men don't trust other men, and not only from a generalization standpoint, but from an actual life experience standpoint. We have some evidence that pushes us in our life more into distrust. But you're still here. So what happened?
Oh man. So I met 3 amazing brothers that were all military at that event. And I did not know they were military until like the last day.
Oh, wow.
Because they had been doing their work. They were examples. They were physical examples of what I needed to see. And, one, Jonathan Castillo, shout out. So, he is, our bond created through Sacred Sons has been the pivotal point of what brought me to purpose. I needed that person there that understood the language, the military language, but also could speak the language of healing.
Right.
That's a powerful place to hold, to be able to speak both of those languages, and then to sit with brothers that served under him that was there doing their own work, and they actually served under him in that position, and hearing their stories and seeing them all there in that same camaraderie, that same brotherhood, but on healing.
Yeah.
So think about, that was a seed planted for me. Oh, I get to witness 3 military servicemen bonded through their service, now being in a bond of healing, and how powerful that was to see them hugging each other and crying and being vulnerable and spitting the emotions of what they've gone through and how they've supported each other along the way. Man, that's power. That's just power.
Yeah.
But I withheld myself.
Yeah. So that was my next question. So when did that moment happen for you? When did you have that moment of, because I want to emphasize here that yes, to witness it is powerful, and to experience it and to be held in it is like a 10x on the power scale, you know, and it's a part of leadership as well. It's a part of embodied leadership to go through that. So when did, I guess the question is, yeah, when were you willing to trust?
Oh man. So I'll say on that was the scariest moment I think of my life. And I've been through some things, but yeah. So this was in Tennessee, as you know, like this is when I first met you in Tennessee.
Yeah.
And I won't get into details of exactly what happened and all, because that's everybody's own story. But when I felt called to go into the circle, to break open, you know, my heart center that I was carrying for the first time, which is just one layer, one little shed, which was a huge moment. Oh man, the pressure, the downpour of just emotion that needed to come out.
Yeah.
Because I felt safe, because I actually trusted at the moment. I was like, oh, that's trust. I've got to do this. And I did it. And at the very, like right after the weightlessness, which was something I hadn't felt in years, I needed that. And not only did I need that, but other brothers needed to see that.
Yeah.
Because that's the gift that I carry. That's the gift I bring to the table, is you get to see something and you get to witness something and feel it. And then it empowers you to be able to do the same.
Yeah, it's powerful, man. And, you know, Jonathan was a part of that process as well. And
yeah,
I feel like even that's kind of some of the early moments of what has now become Stars and Scars. And the understanding for the needs of veterans to do this type of work together alongside civilians. And that's what I'm saying from the beginning. Sacred Sons, This work is for all men. You know, there are no boxes within Sacred Sons. And that language that our veterans speak, and I'm not even talking about just strictly United States veterans. We've had brothers from the Israeli Defense Forces. We've had police officers. We've had British law enforcement. We've had brothers in the French military, from all over, you know, and it's like, it's important that we keep at the forefront of this conversation the dedication to be in service to those that are of the greatest service. It's important. I think it goes through many, like right now, just with the current state of the world. I think about the nurses on the front line. You know, I think about you know, people who are really giving themselves to society. And if we're not in reciprocity with those on a, you know, on a grand scale, but in any of the small ways that we can contribute to that, I just think it's of the utmost importance.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. So Stars and Scars. What are we doing? How are we calling them in? I'll say from Sacred Sons, we are calling in the men, the brothers, the veterans who feel called to do this work.
Mm-hmm.
And we're calling in those men who are already a part of our community to step into leadership and to deepen in their leadership in this healing work. Tell me about Stars and Scars.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, yeah, Stars and Scars. I had to have this. I had to help this come into life. It was a purpose. It's been shown to me numerous ways. Um, what this is to create a space of what I say is true integration. Whether you've already been EAS'd out for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, you never had the integration. It's never too late to have it. But we want our veterans to come and be able to be witnessed and seen and held and have that safe container to release and remove and shed some of these layers of their experience alongside of their brothers. So this is veterans healing veterans alongside non-veterans, because in order for it to be a true integrative process, it can't be like that VFW. It can't be just a bunch of veterans getting together, telling their story, and then go home. No, it has to be seen by those who have not served, but maybe they have relatives that have. Maybe they come from, and I say this lightly, but in my perspective, there's not many people that do not have some sort of heritage, lineage, ancestral lineage to battlefield, to combat, to warriorship.
Absolutely.
I think that runs deep, and I would feel confident to say everyone's DNA has that piece. So just being able to understand it, to show up and help our brothers, our veterans to integrate fully by having that space, so that they don't have to put that weight on their wives. They don't have to put that weight on their husbands or their kids. They have that safe space to release it, but then they build a network to keep the growing, so they don't have this opportunity to do this and then it disappear. Nah, because one thing veterans do know is that brotherhood, and it's for life. Yeah. It's for life. When you know what it feels like to actually be willing to give up your life for someone, then you know that relationship is for life. And so Stars and Scars is dedicated to that. We're dedicated to holding that container and creating these spaces at no cost. That's the big step. I've had to do I've attempted a lot of different therapies and modalities in the healing work, and it costs money. And I don't want my brothers that has already given so much to have to give for their own healing. Mm-hmm. So I do leg work. I do a lot of leg work. I talk to businesses, corporations, and I tell them what we're doing. And any sponsorship, any donorship, it is the gift back to the veteran for what they have sacrificed. It's a small gift to start with.
Yeah, we're flipping the model on its head. We're inverting it where we're not trying to make money off of the brothers and sisters who serve. We're trying to get our governments, get our corporations to fund the integration and healing of those who are in the deepest service to our country and to our communities.
Oh yeah.
Let's
absolutely.
go. Let's have, those who are in quote unquote power, let's have them give back, as there are those of us who are willing to show up and to facilitate and to be a part of this healing work. Mm-hmm. It's so vital for us as humans. And so why not emphasize the value of it? Why not have it fully funded? We're funding destruction. Let's fund the rehabilitation. Let's fund the creation as well.
Yeah, war is one of the most profitable things in the world.
Right.
So they can make money, to profit that. We need to be given the money we need to be given money and funding to help those who did the deed to serve this country to heal from it. Like, let's put our money back into healing our vets.
Yeah. Let's
lower these numbers. This is disgusting. It's a disgrace. Being someone that has served is dishonorable that a country you fight for, willing to die for, lets you die like this.
Yeah. You said one vet every 35 minutes. So in the course of this conversation already, like
2.
that's just bringing it right to the forefront of the reality that's playing out. And listen, no one is coming to save us. We're not saviors here, but we will be of service. We will stand alongside you. You know, we will circle up and we'll stand together in community. And that's important. It's important to note that, like, you know, this is not about saving anyone. You know, it's about building and creating.
Yeah, absolutely. And a piece I share with that is the excuse. This is a piece I share. So any veteran listen, the excuse of you don't know what it's like, you didn't go through it, you wasn't there. We are removing that excuse with Stars and Scars, because you will have veterans leading it. And that excuse is not valid no more. So the accountability for yourself, and my challenge, you know, for veterans that hear this message and see this work and know they need the healing and they need somewhere to start here. Your next chapter starts here.
All right. So the next chapter is here, Stars and Scars, Veterans Embodied Masculine Experience, coming to San Diego, California, June 1st through 4th. How does it feel to be this far along in integration? We just shared an EMX, you and I, in December, in which you got to bring your brother out, which I felt like was incredible. It's amazing to see your journey unfold to the point where your own brother's coming out with you. And yeah, what does that mean to you?
Oh, that means everything. That means everything, because it's all about embodying it. I don't ask people to come and do this healing. I never ask. I mention it one time, and then I do my work with how I live. Mm-hmm. You see how I live, and then they'll slowly be like, man, like, oh, how are you? How do you? Oh, I see you. Wow. Oh, you're really changing. Like, you look good. You're doing something right. And then it's like, well, my brother came to me. You know, I mentioned this 2 years ago, and you know, he does have cancer, so that was the big thing, is he needed to feel that power to not prepare to die, but to look forward to living.
Yeah. Wow.
And so, yeah, seeing it full circle, seeing that my healing and me taking accountability for myself to grow and heal, to not get stuck in those statistics, to be something more, and then to see it, you know, wash over to those surrounding me, and they want to heal. That's power. That has to happen, though. That has to happen.
Yeah. So give me an invitation for the men who you're calling into the Veterans EMX June 1st through 4th in San Diego at Liberty Arising. Shout out to Liberty Arising.
Yeah. This is going to be a beautiful healing experience. Calling in our brothers, our veteran brothers, who know they want to show up in their families. They want to show up for their communities. They need to show up for themselves. And it's safe. It's safe. It's all about the trust. And veterans with veterans, there's no place I can think of a better place to find trust than that right there. But let's do it. Let's do it from the heart. Go together.
Yeah. I love that you said Stars and Scars, veterans healing veterans alongside civilians. That's the important part of the integration of all of this.
Yeah. It's not about isolating. It's not about separating. It's about integrating. I could be just like any other nonprofit that helps veterans that specify on veterans, or level and say, no, we're doing this as a whole. This is a community project. This is a whole country project. This is everybody putting their hands in and saying, I see you. Thank you for doing that for us. Now I'm not just thanking you with 10% off or that free meal. I'm thanking you with what you're doing, with helping you be seen to heal, to go through those traumas and then come back to the world full force.
So for the people that are listening, if you would like to support, if you would like to donate, go to starsinstars.org, and there's links to donation pages there, links to the mission statement. Instagram is also Stars and Scars, at Stars and Scars. Ben, it's been a good journey that we've been on, and we continue to be on, and the work is never done. And I just want to commend you for not only having the courage and the willingness to step into your own work, but now to invite in others, and specifically to invite in those brothers who are on the very path that you walked ahead of them. With that, is there any last message that you would like to leave with the brothers and sisters who are listening?
Thank you. I'll share this one last piece. Any veteran that feels they are not understood, know it is the gift of the veteran to not be understood, but for us to carry the weight of being misunderstood, in hopes that we can work through this healing together, brothers and sisters alike. Just don't stop fighting. Don't give up. Don't quit. I'm here for it. Our brothers are here for it. Our community's here for it. Reach out. If you feel down, you feel dark, you need somebody to go to, that's what we're here for. That's what Stars and Scars is here for. Don't give up. Keep fighting. Keep pushing. I'm here for it all. I'm here for my brothers and sisters.
Here for it all. This is big work, and we're not gonna, get it all in one shot, nor are we, trying to do that. But for those who feel the call, for those who are here for this as well, Stars and Scars, Sacred Sons, will be out at Liberty Arising again, June 1st through 4th. This is a monumental kind of like first event. I'm stoked that it's happening. We've been talking about this for years, man.
Shot the arrow.
We shot that arrow. We put it out there. Why are you doing this? Why is this important now?
Because we don't have time to wait. We don't have time to waste. We got brothers killing themselves daily. And it is vital that we start now. It's vital that we started 20, 30 years ago. But this is the time I'm in. This is the place we have. This is the chance and the opportunity to be able to make that change, to contribute to that change, to help financially, to help emotionally, spiritually. It's extremely vital. It has to happen now. It has to happen now.
And where are
the numbers clown?
Where are the and where are the donations going? Like, how is it directly going to these veterans?
Donations are all profits go straight to holding the events. It goes to leaders, facilitators, transportation, lodging, food. It goes to helping pay scholarships for brothers that want to, go do Sacred Sons events, maybe some LT training, EMXs, even convergence. A big portion of what we want to do with Stars and Scars is to minimize the scholarship workload, the burden with Sacred Sons, where your funding and your resources can be spent to reach other demographics, other areas, and we can take care of the vets. Because this ain't just, it's not about isolation, it's integration. Yeah. So Stars and Scars is not just dedicated to veterans only coming to a Stars and Scars event. We're dedicated to the whole of healing. We're dedicated to pushing out funds to whatever is called and whatever is necessary for as many veterans as we can reach. we're working right now, collaborating with multiple nonprofit organizations that just offer different things, different opportunities that may make sense for one veteran, but not for another. Integration is absolutely necessary, and it has to happen. It's vital. So it starts there. And then anything extra we can do, we're going to do.
Yeah, and like you said, the mission, let's bring that number down.
Yeah.
Let's bring that number down one day at a time, one step at a time.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what it's about and what it's going to take.
Yeah.
All right. More work to be done. More to come. For now, Stars and Scars, Ben Burns, Adam Jackson, Sacred Sons. We're out, family.